Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Charges that have been levied against me are meritless, and I will mount a vigorous defense in court to clear my name. I look forward to being fully vindicated and exonerated, ending any and all questions relating to my affiliation with a nation. As I fight to clear my name, rest assured, I will continue to work hard for the people and constituents of the 27th Congressional District of New York, and I will remain on the ballot running for re-election this November.
So we're gonna have indicted candidates on the ballot this November, and I did mean to say it plural. I did mean to say it. I mean. You want to hear the height of irony? Okay, so you know what happened with Chris Collins yesterday because we covered it. And if you didn't, go listen to yesterday's podcast and catch up with us today. Then you can listen to it in order, right? It's just like, a binge. It's a binge listen thing. Or watch. You could watch at www.randyrhodes.com. And if you have a podcast subscription, there's video in there too. But I got to tell you, Duncan Hunter Jr., I mean, it's not bad enough I lived through Duncan Hunter Sr., and I did. But this political dynasty out of San Diego, California, the Duncan Hunters, his father was a congressman, and now his son is a congressman who literally changed his name so that people would confuse him with his father. Like, who the hell would want to be confused with Duncan Hunter? Apparently, Duncan Hunter Jr. So, anyway, this guy... you just had a primary in California. So what was it, June 5th or something? And the Republican Party was trying really, really hard to get Duncan Hunter Jr. off the ballot. Yeah. They put up a different candidate. They started leaking things about Duncan Hunter Jr. Like he's an alcoholic, like he drinks on the job, like he's a womanizer, like... He is under investigation by the FBI for campaign finance violations. He actually took the campaign donations that he got and spent it on himself. So he's under FBI investigation too, and everybody is waiting for the indictment to come against Duncan Hunter because he won the primary June 5th in California. So he is your Republican candidate. Now, San Diego is so conservative. It's just, I think 27% of that particular district is actually Democratic. So that means everyone else votes Republican. But wouldn't it be something if Duncan Hunter actually gets indicted ahead of November? And a Democrat could steal that seat. Oh, man. So, and of course, Chris Collins is still running for re-election. Why not? He didn't do anything that other Republicans didn't do except get caught. And Duncan Hunter Jr. is about to get caught. And of course, we had Papadopoulos get caught. And Rick Gates get caught. And Tom Price got caught. Chris Collins got caught yesterday with Tom Price, same exact, a pharmaceutical company. Oh, my God. You have Rob Portman. Rob Portman got caught. Black eye photographs, abusive to two wives, not just one, but two wives. I mean, you have all these freaking people. You got Mick Mulvaney, who says, he actually said this out loud. He said, I don't take meetings with anybody who doesn't pay me. Gave a speech, saying that you have to pay him if you want his attention, his time and attention. And now he's in charge of the Consumer Protection Bureau, and he's, getting rid of all of its teeth, meaning there's a database where there's been over 1 million complaints about people who are abused by financial institutions, everything from banks to credit cards and everything in between, payday lenders, you name it. And, he's taking it down so you can't see and, protecting all these people that rip you off. And of course, he's like so disgusting that he says, and if you want protection from me, you're going to pay me. That's what people do. You got Michael Flynn, Ronnie Jackson, who's going to head the VA, he's under investigation too, right? He's under investigation for drinking on the job, for writing prescription drugs to people that aren't his patients. Paul Manafort is on trial. Rick Gates is, 30. Rick Gates had 31 counts. That's what he was facing, 31 counts. And he pled and decided to cooperate to reduce his penalty, his sentencing, right? And so he's pointing fingers at, Manafort. And, the two of them are like playing a game of who can steal from whom more. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable how many, and it's not like Democrats aren't, free of scandal. Obviously Democrats have been involved in scandals, but nothing like this. My God, nothing like that. It's like Donald Trump considers you being dirty, you as being like jumped in. You know what I mean? Like you've paid your dues to show him that you could be part of this mob. You could be part of this gang. You could be part of him. You could be part of this administration. Every single one. And Wilbur Ross now. There's two separate stories. The media is covering a story, I think it's the Daily Beast story, about how Wilbur Ross stole from his own, partners. That's, a Rick Gates Manafort situation where he stole from his own partners. And apparently he steals sweet and low packets, too, on top of it. He's just a cheap, old, angry, a guy who, no matter how rich he gets, is always going to look like Wilbur Ross. You would think they'd lay on a gurney. You know what I mean? Like, get a neck, get a chin. You could buy those things now, but oh no. They're just self-loathing, sons of bitches. They're corrupt, and all that they're using their positions for is self-enrichment. You got people, securities fraud, wire fraud, false statements, mail fraud, campaign finance violations. Chris Collins, those charges against him and the six unnamed co-conspirators. The charges against Chris Collins come with 150 years in prison as the penalty. These are not small things, okay? Howard brought this up when I got home yesterday. He said, it's pretty damn disgusting that he did this insider trading. And of course, I knew, because I've seen, enough stuff in my life to know that Chris Collins, who sat on the board of this pharmaceutical company, because he was a board member, he's not allowed to dump stock, right? Board members can't do that. So he's, in his little dog and pony show yesterday, which, by the way, included no questions, no media, just cameras, no people. He wouldn't take any questions yesterday. He said, well, I didn't sell my stock. That's because he's prohibited from doing that as a board member. However, when he tipped off all his family members, when he tipped off his own son, his son's fiance, his son's fiance's mother, his son's fiance's father, another friend of his, and they unloaded all those shares, that means people who weren't privy to the inside information took a bath. That means that they... that it's a pump and dump scheme. They put out like a friendly PR statement saying, hey, we're in the final stages of our final, a trial. And pretty soon this stock's going to go through the roof. And won't this be great? Privately, they're calling him up. And Chris Collins is at the White House. He was at a picnic on the White House lawn when he got the phone call from the Australian, the CEO of the Australian company, saying, we just failed our clinical trial. It's not going to happen. Our stock is now worthless because we only had the one drug, right? And he's on the White House lawn, and now there's video everywhere of him taking the call on the White House lawn, and the cameras have the exact timestamp that, his phone was calling his son like 15 seconds later. It's so, I'm going to mount a video. Yeah, mount this. Everyone who bought into this stock, who didn't get the inside information, their stock was worthless. They lost all their money because it tanked by 92% of its value. They lost all their money. But his son and his son's fiance and his son's fiance's mother and father and his friend, they got out before they got hurt. That is the most disgusting part. And then when you look at what he did as a congressman, And I was explaining this to you yesterday, that there's a Medicaid program that says that the most expensive infusion drugs, which this one was going to be an infusion drug, that Medicaid is able to purchase them for the poorest, sickest people at a 50% discount. Now, Medicare can't negotiate because of people like Chris Collins. They can't negotiate with Big Pharma. You remember when we were doing Obamacare? And I swear to God, the only thing that the conservatives cared about, the only thing that they were really, really upset about, because remember, Obamacare is a Heritage Foundation idea. Remember that? Just jogging your memory now. Yeah, it was a Heritage Foundation idea taken straight out of the conservative think tank, the conservative lobby shop of the Heritage Foundation, and given to Mitt Romney as governor of, now everybody forgets because he's so identified now with Utah, that Mitt Romney actually ran and lived and governed in Massachusetts. And as governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney put Obamacare into place. And some of the problems that people saw with it was that you couldn't negotiate the cost of pharmaceuticals. It was a glitch, right? And so the conservatives said, oh, pass your stinking Obamacare, because they were in the minority for like 5 minutes. And we pushed it through. But they were so firm about not letting Medicare, for our seniors, negotiate the price of the prescription drugs. Of course, seniors take the most prescription drugs, representing the largest market for prescription drugs. So the same thing with Medicaid, but Medicaid can negotiate infusion drugs, which is what this drug was going to be. And Chris Collins worked on a piece of legislation banning Medicaid from being able to buy this drug at the discount. He was exempting his own company. Now, there is a problem with Congress members running their own trades. You're supposed to put everything in a blind trust. So right there is an outrage. And all the Republicans, every time we look at a Republican, Tom Price, he's running his own trades. That was the testimony at his confirmation hearing. Patty Murray got it from him. She said, so you decided to buy this company, the same one, because Chris Collins tipped you off about it, and you placed that trade yourself, not with a broker who has your accounts in blind trust. No, but you actually have your own trading account, and you did this by yourself, right? Yes, I did. So there's violation. And the Republicans confirmed Tom Price knowing this. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like a feature, not a negative, that you're corrupt and that you self-deal and that everything that you use your office for is for self-enrichment. And now, of course, with this Devin Nunes tape that I think everybody has heard, Devin Nunes was at a fundraiser for Kathy McMorris Rogers, who barely eked out a win in the primary. And Seattle, Washington State has open primaries, and that's why, it's kind of foreign to those of us who have closed primaries like we do in Florida. So most people, when they go to a primary, they only get a slate of candidates that have the corresponding letter after their name to your party affiliation. So most primaries, you go, if you're a Republican, you're only going to get to choose from Republicans. If you're a Democrat, you only get to choose from Democrats, but not Washington. Washington State is very progressive in this way. They have an open primary, and Kathy McMorris Rogers has to run against everybody, and only the top 2 vote getters will be on the ballot in November, and that's how they pick candidates there. Well, she only got 49% of the vote, and the Democrat that was running against her in the open primary just finished like a couple of tenths of a point behind her. So she's doing these fundraisers now, and she invites Devin Nunes to talk to her fundraiser, to talk to this room of Republican people. And he tells this room of Republican people that the way that Republicans have to vote this election cycle is not for better health care, is not for border security, is not for the fight against ISIS or national security. It's not to protect the sanctity of the ballot. It's not because they have better ideas about keeping the Russians out of our election system. No, it's you're supposed to use your office, according to Devin Nunes and Kathy McMorris Rogers, to protect the president. Now, I always thought that they all swore the oath to protect and defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, but apparently they think that their offices, when they took an oath to protect the most corrupt president I've ever seen, the most lying president I've ever seen, the most self-dealing president I've ever seen, the most conflicted president I've ever seen, the most terrified coward of a president I've ever seen, who will not talk to Robert Mueller because he knows what he did. And he doesn't think he's smart enough to lie to Robert Mueller and get away with it. And so he's terrified to talk to him. He's just a coward is what it is. He won't sit down. And then he said, oh, this thing's got to end. Who's prolonging it? You, because you're a coward. But Devin Nunes thinks that your vote should be to protect a billionaire, not this country. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.